there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here to talk about a play. The play that I'm going to be talking about is The Lesson. This one right here, that was the play that I read in my Read With Me video. This play was written by Eugene Ionesco, who I admire from his work and his approach to absurdism in pieces such as The Bald Soprano and Rhinoceros. Those two plays were brilliant. This one was not. I did not like this and how mean-spirited and nails on a chalkboard aggravating it was. As for the premise of the play, it follows a professor in his 50s and his class that he teaches to his one 18-year-old student, who to me comes off as being as if she's 6, not 18. And this is supposed to be college, but there are things that he's teaching such as basic arithmetic, addition and subtraction, which there could be some absurdities as far as the education system is concerned. And as far as what it is that's being taught and when. Perhaps the professor is more engaged and immersed with his subject matter that he neglects basic issues that the student may have. The only other character in this piece is the maid, who is a little bit younger than the professor, but she just pops in and out every so often, and is often brushed away, and then she'll come in to accompany him. But he starts out a little bit quiet, but then as the class progresses, he becomes very immersed. Because it starts out as arithmetic, then he starts talking about languages, which is where he really becomes immersed in his material. It's very it's very on the surface, on the basis that you probably want to engage your audience with something that sounds like difficult gobbledygook, but is enough for them to understand on its surface level. And then it turns into the ultimate conclusion of the piece, which goes to show that he is a psychopath, and then it just becomes a paradox. The pupil is initially very engaged, wanting to be the best possible student that she can be, and she's very determined. But as the play progresses, she becomes more tired, exhausted, and then it gets to the point where she can't even speak in complete sentences. It's cited, according to the play, that she develops a sense of aphasia, and she's left speechless. But it's just sad the way that she is treated. I feel a sense of sympathy for her, but on the basis that the professor is a cruel scumbag, the way that he doesn't acknowledge the fact that she has a toothache, and then actually inflicts pain on her. He murders her by stabbing her to death, but he inflicts more pain, and just hearing her say, "ow," just really made me cringe. It didn't really contribute to much as far as I saw things as the reader. I think that it was obnoxiously repetitive, where she just kept saying that she had a toothache. It was just that, I mean, you see this repetition in absurdism, but it contributes to a train of thought, and it connects with something that we can understand. While it may not mean anything on the surface, when you think about it, there's a hidden meaning to it. And I'm searching for these hidden meanings for the lesson. Is it really is the hidden meaning even worth it when it comes to thinking about how cruel and unusual things are as far regarding this piece? I think that there were also some technicalities in here as far as editing this was concerned. I think that the character direction, when it comes to saying that the pupil starts out this way and then will eventually become that way, should not be mentioned in the script itself. If you want to do it separate in the character introduction, I think that's better. Or you can do like Arthur Miller did with The Crucible, where you do it as you go along. It's separated based off of parts. Granted, what should be known is that this is written to be performed and not written to be read. And when that's the case, then you're going to have more stage direction within the text itself. But I think the character development should have been placed at the very beginning with the pupil's introduction, as opposed to within the text itself, where enter the pupil who is enthusiastic but is eventually going to drone and become tired and exhausted. Do that at the beginning, because that's what somebody should know as they're acting the part. And as far as to me, the pupil seemed like she was someone that came out of the Putnam County Spelling Bee play. She was that kind of character. There was a bit of ridicule, but I think the way that the professor treated her, you can't help but feel a sense of sympathy. Some people may see her as annoying, and I think in aspect she was, but I don't like seeing people I don't like seeing the infliction of unnecessary pain on a subject. And I think that I don't think that there's any redeemable qualities or any excuses that can be made for this professor. This professor needs to be locked up, either in a prison or in a mental institution. There are also moments here I'd have to look at other translations or even the original French when it comes to the language barrier, because it seems like the professor starts talking about how do you say grandmother in French, and the answer is grandmother. Is that what was intended, or is it just they just went from straight French to straight English, as opposed to saying a certain... There should have been mention to that as far as connecting the two is concerned. And it's a bit difficult because when you're talking about French, this play was originally written in French. So that's a bit boggling. But to me, the professor's greater concern with the subject matter, with the material, than with the well-being of his student. To me, he seems like the Adam Gase of instructors, where Adam Gase was more concerned about offensive formulas than he was about the well-being of his players when he was the coach on the Jets. But I give the lesson half a star. And the only reason it's at half a star is because there may be some hidden meaning, and there may be some arguments that can be formulated that provide an explanation for everything that's taking place within this piece. I think absurdism is brilliant, but I don't think that it is illustrated well in the lesson. I would highly encourage people to read The Bald Soprano, but I would discourage people from reading the lesson. And you just have to think about whether or not you'd want to see it as a play. And I would definitely not want to see the lesson be performed. I'd love to see The Bald Soprano be performed. That would be quite a riot. And Rhinoceros is just very insightful in its subject matter. So read those plays, don't read the lesson. Thank you for tuning in, and for now, keep reading.